All right, boys and girls, welcome in. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilot. I have Robby Sabo from Jets X Factor. Robby, how you doing tonight?
What's up? Thanks for having me. I'm already chatting with some of the guys in the YouTube chat. Is it more of a Wilson crowd here, you think?
Ooh, I think we got a lot of people on the Wilson bandwagon. I think there's going to be a large portion of the fan base that I've seen so many mock drafts and all the Chris Sims talk on everything exciting about Wilson. So I think that's kind of where this crowd's going. We definitely have some Fields fans in here. I've seen a lot of people talk about that in the past. So I guess that's where we're going to start. We're going to start talking about the quarterbacks. But before we do that, we're going to be doing a t-shirt giveaway today. All you have to do is click on the link in the description down below, the first link. It's a link to Jets X Factor. All you have to do is like, subscribe, and comment on their most recent video and say Jets Talk sent you there. And then we're going to pick a winner at the end of the show to win a super secret shirt. That's definitely not going to be there before draft time, so I apologize about it. But you guys, someone is going to win a shirt at the end of the stream. So make sure you head over to there. So Robby, let's start with this. What are your thoughts? Oh, should we go with the Zach Wilson stuff, or should we go with because we haven't talked. When's the last time we talked? It's been a long time now.
Yeah, it's been a while. Your call. Hey, you're the pilot.
Okay, I like that. All right, let's start from the very beginning. Let's talk about the thoughts on the Jets hiring Robert Saleh. What do you think of the coaching hire?
I mean, to be honest, Saleh was always there on the list, but he kind of was in the back of my head. He wasn't at the top of the list. But once he started gaining steam, I started loving it. I started loving the idea. Having a coach who doesn't have the ego where he has to call the defensive or offensive plays is an important thing. I mean, can the head coach call the plays? Of course. But the fact that he doesn't feel he needs to tells me a lot about him. He doesn't have that ego. He understands it's about the quality people he brings in, not his expertise solely. So you got to love it from a head coach perspective. That's what the Jets needed. They needed a head coach. They didn't need a play caller. They didn't need a Rex Ryan. They didn't need a Adam Gase. I don't want to put Ryan and Gase in the same category, but you get the idea. Offensive, defensive guy. They needed a head coach. They needed a guy to manage everything: players, facility, coaching staff. And from that standpoint, I love it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was looking for an offensive head coach. I had Brian Daboll high on my list. I wasn't really thinking defense at all. I thought Saleh was for sure going to the Lions. So there was no part of me that really kind of gave him a shot. And then as it was okay, we're going to interview Robert Saleh, I was like, all right, I guess I should look into him. Let's take a deeper dive. And I was like, oh man, this guy's full of energy and people seem to love him. And then he leaves. I was like, no, we're not getting him. And I was like, you know what, whatever. Arthur Smith, it feels like we're getting, the B team with Arthur Smith. Because not that I had anything against Arthur Smith, but he wasn't Brian Daboll. The Bills were still in the playoffs. I was like, are we going to miss out on our first guy, which was Saleh, and then go with Smith? And then we brought Saleh back in, and then we got him. And I was like, super, super excited for everything. And like you said, the whole CEO running everything, he doesn't have to call the plays. He doesn't have to, he can have his hand in a little bit of everything, kind of like Kyle Shanahan has over in San Francisco. One thing I really like, the offense. I love LaFleur coming in. We have a dedicated offensive coordinator. Downside with that, if he does a really good job and, Wilson shows out, he's going to be on the hot list for head coaching search in the near future, 2-3 years. Hopefully we get enough from him where we're able to grow our young quarterback and then maybe develop someone behind him to take over the reins after that. And then we have a dedicated quarterback coach and we have a dedicated friggin' passing game coordinator, all this support system that we didn't have for Sam Darnold. I absolutely love everything the Jets are doing right now.
And that's okay. If LaFleur, if all goes well, say the best thing possible happens and, they get to the Super Bowl and someone snatches LaFleur, that's only good things for the Jets because that attracts more quality people to the organization. Look what the Jets can do for my career. So, that would be a positive. You don't want that to happen, obviously, but that would be a positive. And the formation, what Douglas did with the, what's it called? The new injury prevention thing they're doing.
Yes.
Even that stuff is overlooked a little bit, but it's so critical to building winning programs. So I think it's hard to see, especially for the Jets fan, because I understand the wounds are serious and pessimism is real, but they really are on the right track in terms of attracting quality people. And even, listen, I know the 2 wins sucked. I know it. Everyone thought Lawrence, but I firmly believe the organization that does the right thing day in, day out, regardless of what they think might be best in the draft, will turn out to yield the best results in the end. And that still could be possible based on this draft.
That's absolutely huge. Being able to, because I know when we won those 2 games, I was like, there goes Lawrence. That was the crown jewel. The only reason to watch games this year, to like root for the generational quarterback. And now it seems like some people are even, saying Zach Wilson ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I guess let's go to the Zach Wilson. No, I don't want to do Zach Wilson yet. I want to talk about free agency. Then we'll go into the Zach Wilson.
I keep trying to reel you into Zach Wilson. I think
that's just it. It's so tempting. Yeah. I just want to go there. Trey, I see you in the lobby there. Did the link work for you? Some people are in the chat are saying the link isn't going to work. We're going to go to some video comments at some point. I want to get through some of our topics. So if you guys are just kind of hanging out, just wait there. We'll cue you in a little bit. But Robby, let's talk about Jets free agency. How did you feel the Jets did in free agency? I know some people were really upset. I wanted interior offensive line. Tooney was high up on my list. Disappointed we didn't get that done. But that contract was like, 4 years, $16 million a year, or 5 years, $16 million a year. That was like the highest guard contract ever paid out. And he went to like the 2-time Super Bowl Chiefs as opposed to the 2-14 Jets. So how are you feeling overall about the Jets free agency? Were you disappointed? Were you happy? Who were your favorite signings?
I mean, yeah, let's start with Tooney. Everyone wanted Tooney. If not Tooney, Lindsley. But from all indications, Douglas did go hard after Tooney. He just didn't pick him. And that's the thing that people lose sight of sometimes. You can't always get the guy you want. You can't always make the trade you want. It's not a miracle where everything happens the way you want it, but it's tough. So considering you didn't get Tooney, I don't think he offered anything to Lindsley, but that's because he wants McGovern at center. They don't value McGovern at guard the way they do with him at center. But then again, I think interior offensive line is pretty stacked in the draft in terms of late first, early second, even third round. So being able to snatch a guy or two and have him on a cheaper deal is very cost efficient in terms of building a Super Bowl team. So I think that could have went into it as well. There was a lot of chatter, right, where, what are the Jets doing? They have all this money and they're not spending it. But it turns out in the end, where did they finish? Third? Yeah, I'm looking at Spot Track right now. They finished third in guaranteed money, just behind the Jags and the Patriots, who acted in desperation. I'm sorry. People are trying to wash away the Patriots' actions here in free agency. That's desperate. What they did is desperation, and it's because of Brady. They never finished this high in free agency spending since 2011. They didn't even come close to it. So Douglas did finish third in guaranteed money. Always look at the guaranteed money, not the total value. I think they finished 7th in total value. Mm-hmm. I wanted Curtis Samuel because I feel like they need that X factor guy that people call it a gadget guy, but I think it's more important than a gadget. The guy who could assume jet motion duties, as good as Crowder is, he's not that guy. He's not that guy to threaten the edge off the jet motion, like a Deebo Samuel, like a Tyreek Hill. And I think LaFleur will have that in his offense, so they'll have to get that in the draft. But Corey Davis, you got to like Corey Davis. He's all business. He was the number 5 pick several years ago. And if you see a trend with Douglas, it's signing young guys, 26-year-old guys, after the rookie deal who didn't quite meet expectations. which means he's banking on them to be better than they were in the first route. Okay, maybe the team soured on him because they didn't meet draft expectations. Jared Davis, Corey Davis, Rankins even too. So I think he's going for value in that area. I love the Corey Davis signing. I love the Ranking signing. And I love the Hardy signing as well, the special teamer. I think that can't be overlooked. He's so much better than Bellamy with that last special team signing that they had with McCagnon.
That was huge. I think special teams has kind of been an area that's been lost with McCagnon. Like, we let our Pro Bowl kicker walk away. We're still kind of trying to find a situation for that. We're bringing in the gunner, and Hardy. What did you think about Carl Lawson coming in? I know Nanny was big on Lawson.
Yeah, I forgot about Lawson. Their most important free agent signing.
Oh yeah.
When I just said miracle, right? I just mentioned the word miracle. That's a miracle. To get a prime edge rusher in the prime of his career. He didn't fit the pattern of first-round pick. I think he was a mid-round pick, maybe third or fourth rounder. But very rarely do edge rushers in the prime of their career become available. And the fact that Douglas put an end to the streak of no first-round offensive linemen since 2006, last year with Becton, and then put an end to the other streak, which is never grabbing a legitimate edge threat since John Abraham in 2 consecutive off seasons, is huge. Lawson, he loves those power moves. He fits the Saleh defense. Not a huge edge, but not a small edge. A guy who's in the 270, 280 range, who could handle the run and who could also get after the pass rusher. So from that standpoint, and the defensive line pass rush standpoint, where they're really versatile, John Franklin Myers could play outside, kick into the inside, with Quinnen, with Rankins, have that trio rotate with Curry on the outside, with Lawson. That's tremendous because, they severely need help at corner, at linebacker, but the best friend to the corner, to the DB, is that 4-man pass rush. Everything gets better behind it with the 4-man pass rush and the offensive line. Production raises behind those 2 positions. It's an inside-out game. So I think that's really huge.
Yeah, I think the defensive line is the most exciting part of this team because we haven't had that edge presence or even just like pressure with the 4-man front. I mean, going back to the days of Rex Ryan, he's always sending extra people. He's sending 5-6 guys each time. You're leaving yourself out on islands, which when you have Revis and Cromartie, that's okay. But when you don't have those lockdown corners, or the league is going to more of, 4 or 5 wide receiver sets where every guy is, could be a weapon, being able to drop more guys into coverage is such a huge advantage for a defense. And this super chat coming in from Scott is a really cool, add-on to this. He says, when asked about defensive line, Saleh said it's a good start. Could this statement hint we take an edge rusher before corner? If so, sign Nelson. I like the idea of going edge rusher at some point. I think for me, it depends where the value lies. And we can kind of get into that with our thought processes of the picks. So let's assume quarterback at number 2. And we'll come back to the whole quarterback thing and Zach Wilson. But at 23, what do you want to see the Jets do from a draft perspective? Like in an ideal world, who is there a player? Is there a position you would like to target with that 23 overall pick?
If Elijah Vera Tucker's there, you get him. He's perfect for the inside, perfect for the zone scheme. If Newsome is there, I'd have a hard time passing on him either at corner. J.C. Horn won't be there. I'd be shocked if he is. Yeah. So it starts there, I think. It starts at Vera Tucker and Newsome. Caleb Farley is interesting with the injury history. And the other guy that's interesting is Jalen Phillips. How far people are worried. There's a lot of red flags now. How far does he drop? And if he does drop, does Douglas trade down? There was a lot of chatter about him on the presser laying groundwork to possibly trade up. To me, he was kind of going through a hypothetical situation. I mean, kind of explaining it. Yes, this is when we start having conversations. It doesn't just start in the draft. If he does anything, I'd expect him to trade down. It's possibly trades up, but don't count out an edge at 23 or 34. There's no set rule here where he has to take a corner over an edge player. You know Salah's defense from the Niners. You know how Douglas thinks. It starts in the trenches. So that super chat is dead on. It could be an edge.
Yeah, edge is an interesting area for me. I like the addition of Curry. I like the addition of Lawson. I like Rankins. I love Quinnen. Like everything that this defensive line is looking like right now is exciting. And when I'm looking at like needs, like I feel like, oh man, I really want interior offensive line there. I'm like hoping Elijah Vera Tucker's there, or even is it Tevin Jenkins, the guy from Oklahoma State, maybe, that people are pretty hyped up on. Both
yeah,
of
he
them
can play tackle. He can play tackle and guard.
Yeah, he played. I think it was right tackle, and then they were thinking he could kick into guard. I think my biggest thing with Vera Tucker and Jenkins. I like that both of them have the ability to kick outside to tackle in the event we have an injury, because Becton has shown to be, a little, I don't want to call him fragile, but a little banged up over the course of the year. And you're going to have to plug in guys, where you have to. And one of my things that I really liked about Tooney was that he could play every offensive line position and he doesn't miss time. So one of these two players, I think at 23 would make a ton of sense. You brought up JC Horn. I think, because of the Farley injury, I think that pushed him further up people's draft boards. And I think he probably doesn't make it out of the top, 12 to 15 picks. He might go top 10 to Dallas. It's interesting. If we go edge, I was hoping Kwity Paye would fall. Jalen Phillips is an interesting one. I don't know if I'd rather, if the offensive linemen are gone, like let's say Vera Tucker's gone and Jenkins is gone, and you have a choice between Farley, Newsome, Phillips. That would be so hard. I would have a hard time going.
I think Douglas. Don't get me wrong. It depends on who's there. He'll grab edge if it makes sense, but no doubt in my mind, he's targeting corner and interior offensive line first.
Mm-hmm. So let's say we get the offensive lineman at 23. Mm-hmm. What would you want the Jets to do at pick 34? Assuming, quarterback 2, offensive line 23, 34, ideal world, what would your pick, direction be?
I'd want to try to force a corner, but again, it's tough. That 34 at corner is a tough one. Corner's more likely at 23 in my mind with interior offensive line, or maybe even Phillips at 34 based on how he's rapidly dropping. Mm-hmm. So that's a tough one. I don't know if he could squeeze a corner out at 34. And if he can't, maybe he does go edge. Maybe he does go 2 interior offensive linemen in a row. Mm-hmm. But again, knowing Douglas, I would not be shocked if he trades down from either 23 or 34.
So that's a good jumping off point too, because I had this queued up. Should the Jets try to trade? Whether that is trading up from 23 to go get a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker or Tevin Jenkins, or is it 34, either trading up into the first round or moving back, because that we know the beginning part of day 2 is real valuable because teams have had a night to sort of sleep on their board and try to see who's available. They see some first round talent falling. Jets are sitting at 34. Does Douglas try to move back? We don't have another pick until 66. So maybe there's the thought to add maybe an additional draft pick in there too. What would you like to see the Jets do? And is there a trade that you would like to see them maybe,
I think it depends on how he feels about Wyatt Davis, because Wyatt Davis will probably be there at 34. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people love him. I know he fits the zone scheme. He fits what LaFleur wants to do. Mm-hmm. So as the Knicks are killing the Suns right now, I know he fits the zone scheme. So if he doesn't like Davis, I think he'll trade down. I think if he likes Davis, he'll snag him at 34. So again, it's not just about Davis, but Davis is the biggest one. It depends on how he values these guys. But don't be shocked if, they get to round 3 and there's still no corner, drafted. Linebacker too. I mean, linebacker is another position in need that they really need. As Blewett was on last week, I'm sure he mentioned it. Salah likes to play base a lot, and he'll play base against 11 personnel, which means all 3 linebacker positions are important. Mm-hmm. So there's a ton of needs, but the good thing is they do have a legit 4-man scary pass rush that could be top 3, top 5 in the league.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because I would love to see the Jets go after. I want the interior offensive line. I want cornerback, but I'm almost okay in a world where you say Zach Wilson or quarterback, number two. What do we do 23-34? Like, let's just protect him. We didn't protect Arnold. We didn't do that. We're going to punt on edge rusher and corner for this year. We have 2 first-round picks next year, 2 second-round picks next year. If they decided they wanted to go that route and say, like, okay, Vera Tucker, 23, or Tevin Jenkins, 23, and then Wyatt Davis, 34, could you get behind that type of thought process, or is that too much O-line at that point, and you still want to see some help on the the secondary side of things or the edge side of things?
I could get behind it as long as one of the big corners aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Farley is a wild card because of the injury history, but Douglas, he's shown that he's not afraid of injury history. That's the one thing he's shown, especially in free agency. Well, you mentioned Kwity Paye, right? Is that how you say it? Pie or pay?
I think it's Paye, P-A-E.
Is it pay?
I could be saying it wrong.
With the name pronounced. Oh my God, I'm the worst. But Paye, yeah, he's interesting too. He's 275, 280. Again, he fits that edge perfectly for Saleh. And again, how do they view JFM? Do they view him as an edge or an inside guy? Right now, I view him as a starting edge opposite Lawson, who could move to the inside during passing situations where Curry or Huff or someone else takes his spot on the outside. It's going to come down to who's there, really. I like Wyatt Davis personally. I like Phillips. Yeah. I wouldn't mind taking Phillips. He's a little lighter. He's tall. He's a little lighter. I don't think he'll start in base right away. He'll have to be a sub-package guy right off the bat.
You brought up linebacker as well before, and that's something that I know Blewett was talking about, and someone I had us mocking linebacker in the 3rd round because I think Sal is going to want to bring in guys. Mosley, I think, is done after this year. I don't think Douglas keeps that big contract. And then you have Jared Davis on a 1-year contract, and I do like him, but it's still only 1-year thing. So I think we're going to pull the trigger maybe a little earlier than some Jet fans may want on a linebacker. Being that 3rd round, maybe like a Dylan Moses, someone like that out of Alabama. From what I've read, it seems like he's a pretty good, can play all 3 positions across the linebacking core. That kind of versatility would just do wonders. But I ultimately trust Saleh to make a good judgment call on linebackers. So I don't know.
I also like a linebacker, Chaz Surratt from North Carolina. Ooh. He'd be he used to be a quarterback, and he'd be the perfect guy at 80 in round 3 to play Will. He's light, but he fits that Will spot. He's smart. And he's like having a 5th DB out there in the base. So I kind of like Surratt. Again, I can't pronounce names. Chaz Surratt. Yeah. Surratt at number 80 in the 3rd round. Don't overlook him.
That's huge. I think I guess in my ideal mind, if I had to kind of peg where I'd want certain players to go, it would be, the quarterback at 2, a really good O lineman at 23, and then maybe like a Caleb Farley or a Gregory Newsome that falls to the pick 34. I think the injury history with Farley is sort of an interesting part. If we're okay on the medicals, I'm good with taking him at 23 and then getting Wyatt Davis at 34. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think the value of that 5th year option with the 1st round pick on a premium position like edge rusher or cornerback is more attractive to me than maybe like a guard at that spot. That's true. But either way, I think just protecting your quarterback is just so absolutely massive that we just couldn't do it the last week.
That's a good point. That wasn't in my head. Grabbing the corner or edge at 23 with that 5th year option. That's a good point. But they'd have
a year of control.
Yeah, they'd have to like Wyatt Davis or hope that one of the other guys falls. Who is it? Creed Humphrey. Humphrey fits. Humphrey fits too. Dickerson's big. He's more of a gap scheme guy. I don't know if he could fit the zone. Maybe he can. To be honest, I don't know. But hopefully Humphrey is there with Davis at 34. But we'll see.
RJ McPot comes in with a super chat. He says, "Water gun to your head. You have to go one if these options at 23 and 34. You have to go with one of these options at 23 or 34. Would you rather two best guards available, two best corners available, or best running back tight end combo available. Ooh, I'd go best guards available. I would double dip on O-line. I'm not touching running back in the first two rounds. And I like cornerback, but I like Bryce Hall, so I don't feel like I need to go too high picks at cornerback. I would be
That's a great question. Is that the guy that called me Shane McMahon last time?
I think it was. I think that's who we got that last time. Oh man. What would you do?
Guard a corner for sure. For sure, guard a corner, but I can't make my mind up between one of the two.
See, I would take the two best guards because in my mind, I'd rather overpay for Richard Sherman to come in as our next, our second option at cornerback. Like, I feel like we have that fallback where we don't have the fallbacks with the guards. Like that, I feel like we almost have to take.
Yeah, I'll go guards.
Tony Lee comes in with the super chat, says, which players at 23-34 would leave you speechless, shaking your head if we took them? Interior defensive line would drive me up a wall. Linebacker at either one of those two spots, I would be pretty upset with. I don't want to go linebacker
unless something crazy happens and Micah Parsons falls.
Someone was just telling me that they think Micah Parsons like could fall into the late teens, and I was like, man, if he falls all the way to us, like that would be. I mean, I guess stranger things have happened, but man, that would be such a fall from grace. Like I saw him going like top 10 in like every mock leading up to like the last probably month.
Yeah. That's the only way where linebacker would be okay because he could play linebacker, he could play second level and rush. So having that versatility would be huge. He's a freak. Mm-hmm. Leave me speechless at 23 and 34. It wouldn't leave me speechless, but I don't want any part of a running back in that spot. Yes. I just don't. You got a solid trio right now. Ty Johnson, he's a one-cut guy. He's fast. P. Ryan, I don't think he fits the wide zone scheme that great. But remember, it's not wide zone in every play. P. Ryan could still have his place. And then Tevin Coleman knows the floor very well. So as that third back, the two positions they could roll with without having to grab anyone. Even though the two positions you want to see upgraded are running back and tight end.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, I'd like to see tight end if there was like a really good guy there, but I want to see what happens with Herndon. Like, I think Herndon has the biggest opportunity to blow up post Gase because like I've been waiting for him for 2 years. He had the suspension, then he got injured. Last year was just a dud of a year. So I still have hope for him. Running back wise, I've seen the ETN rumors and like, I would fit great in that system, which everyone's going to say they fit great in every system because they just want to get drafted by someone. Mm-hmm. But I don't want the Jets to touch either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne. Like I would not touch running back until probably the 4th round if they were to address it. And
how about receiver?
Receiver's another interesting one. I don't really want to touch receiver until probably the 3rd round. If you could get me on board with like a deep threat sometime in round 3, like if I could pick ideally, I would go quarterback, I guess corner, guard at 34. Then in the 3rd round, you could get me on board with linebacker, edge rusher. Double dipping at offensive line would be okay at that point, and wide receiver. All 4 of those positions would be fine with me, I think, in the 3rd round.
See, receivers starting to become like running back, where there's so much offense in college, and college is so similar to the NBA now, where quarterbacks could play right off the bat. It used to not be this way. It used to be so drastically different. And because everyone's scoring points, no one plays defense in college. It's disgusting. They got to make some changes in college. The games take forever, but receivers starting to become just as devalued as running back. It's deep as hell. They got Mims after trading down last year. They could do another mid-round receiver and feel comfortable. They got to get one of those gadget X-Factor guys. Who's the other kid from Newsome from North Carolina, who I like too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just it. There's that one type of position, a gadget guy, which I think this year could be Keelan Cole for the Jets. Like if I had to go between a gadget guy or a deep threat, I think I would probably err more on the side of deep threat. But I like what our receiving core looks like right now. Like for a 1-year shot, you got Mims. I like Corey Davis. Corey Davis was the only player in free agency that I was like, I could see Douglas like going after this guy. Everyone else, I guess wrong. But
Yeah.
Corey Davis, I was like a big fan. I love the contested catches. I think that's big. Keelan Cole's big on that.
Yeah, Cole could play everywhere.
There's a lot of versatility. I like Crowder still. I mean, there's still the outside chance that the Jets potentially upgrade Crowder or another position, because you can still cut him at any point and save like $10 million, which I don't love the idea of doing. I think he's a good safety net for whoever our quarterback's going to be coming in. We assume it to be Zach Wilson, which I guess now we can finally go over onto that side of things. What are our thoughts on Zach Wilson and the quarterback situation in general? What are your thoughts at number 2?
I mean, listen, I wouldn't, if it was Fields, I wouldn't throw my hands up in disgust, but I definitely favor Wilson. He fits today's game perfectly. Everything he does is quick. And the biggest thing that I see, the thing is with Fields and even Lawrence, the systems they play in, what you see on film, you think some of it translates to the NFL, but you don't know for sure because you don't see it, because they have such an easy time of it. You hear of Wilson's lack of competition, but it's not about lack of competition. It's about what are the quarterback's odds every Sunday. Does that quarterback step on the field with greater odds than the other quarterback? I don't know. I would say Wilson faced worse odds than Lawrence and Fields, who had powerhouse programs that won national championships before they arrived. Wilson got there; they were 4-9. His first year, 7-6, then 7-6, and then the last season, where they played, was the schedule a little softer? Sure, but they still played 2 ranked opponents, where previously it was 2 or 3 ranked opponents. So he made an impact. I wouldn't call it a one-year wonder either. One-year wonder is like a Sanchez or a Trey Lance, where it's just literally one season. Wilson, you saw progression. You saw him make an impact. You saw him improve. And when you see quarterbacks improve in college, that's a big deal. What he does with his release, he's so quick with his release, his hands, his feet, from every angle, off platform, out of the pocket, out of structure, in structure, and anticipation. And he has different velocities which makes him kill it in the intermediate area. So I think that's what I see from Wilson, where I really didn't see that from the other 2 guys. Now, that doesn't mean they can't do it, but he can do it. And that's the difference, I think. Yeah,
I got into it with some people with the whole turnover-worthy plays and like, oh, well, we should have kept Sam and this whole other thing. I was like, look, Zach Wilson, I get he didn't play crazy competition, but the level of player that he has playing with him is also proportionally worse than the players that are around Trevor Lawrence, around Justin Fields. Like, he doesn't have a Chris Olave. He doesn't have Trey Sermon. He doesn't have ETN. He doesn't have insert literally any other player on those 2 teams. So I think there's some really exciting aspects to Zach Wilson, and I think Jet fans are going to be really excited watching him throw the ball with the flick of a wrist. That, I know it's just a pro day, but that little turnaround where he's running to the left and he cranks one like 60 yards on a dime in the air was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah. And his anticipation, he anticipates the route. He anticipates leverage. Even in the pro days, you could wave him off, no big deal. But he didn't take the safe route in pro days. He didn't wait till the receiver turned around. He threw with anticipation. And I see the stat from Pro Football Focus either today or yesterday. Zach Wilson, 0% turnover-worthy play rate when pressured last season. How many times does that account for? I don't know, because he wasn't pressured that much. But that's a pretty interesting stat too.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was going to say with that particular stat in general. I think his offensive line was all like 25 and 26-year-olds. So they were like men against like, younger guys in college. So I think he had an advantage there for sure. But the turnover-worthy plays are huge. I said a comment a few videos back now where Zach Wilson's down year last year, 2019, was his down year was like his high in interceptions was like 9 interceptions or something like that. Sam Darnold's low in interceptions at USC was 9 interceptions. So it's like, all right, well, if his worst is Sam Darnold's best, like that's that's huge. I think as much as I like Sam, there was a big issue with some of the ways he went about his week-to-week games. He would miss open guys. He would make throws where he would just like completely whiff on them, or he'd run out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. Like there was a lot of things about Sam that I kind of found frustrating. And I think our offensive line looked a little worse because of Sam at times. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, I guess?
Yeah, no, I agree. And let's not pretend the Pac-12 or Big 12 is anything special defensively. They played no defense, none. And I know the defense that Zach Wilson faced wasn't anything better. It was worse. But still, let's not act like Darnold was playing SEC teams. You know, those defenses, it's all offense in those leagues. You know, the SEC is really the only conference who has real talent defensively.
100%. Chadwick comes in with a super chat, says, are you concerned about Wilson's injury history? I think Douglas will have done all his homework on this. And even when you're looking at his injury history, he's had, I think it was a torn labrum in both shoulders over the course of the last 4 years. I think one was high school and then one was 2018 or 2019. The way he's thrown the ball this entire year does not give me any sort of concern right now. I think he's going to be just fine from an injury perspective. What do you think about that?
It does worry me. I got to be honest, because I'm thinking from a paranoid level, trying to be in Joe Douglas's shoes. He's not a big kid. He's small in stature. I don't care about height, but he's got a smaller frame. There's no doubt about it. What I'm not worried about it in terms of short term, but long term worries me. The rotator cuff or the labrum. It was a labrum in the right shoulder before 2019. I know doctors have said it's no big deal, and the Jets they feel comfortable with the medicals, so I'll take them at their word. But it does concern me a little bit, because when I draft a quarterback at 2, I want to make sure he lasts for the long run. However, having said that, it's a different league. It's not like the way it used to be, where you could draft a quarterback at 2, and if you're wrong, you're done. You could get rid of these guys thanks to the new rookie wage scale introduced in 2011. So it's not that big a deal. Where it really hurts general managers is when you give the wrong quarterback a second contract. And that's what doomed Darnold, because it's not about the first guy now. It's about the second contract. So does it worry me? A little bit, but I would still take him based on how he fits today's NFL.
Guys, down below in the description, there is a link to Robby's channel, Jets X Factor. Make sure you sub that up. Anytime I'm looking for breakdowns on film or anything like that, Sabo, Nania, and Blewett, those guys are where I go. You have to make sure you head over to there. But if you want to get in to win a shirt at the end of this stream, all you have to do is click on the link in the description down below. You got to subscribe. You got to like their most recent video, and you got to say Jets Talk sent you over there. And we're going to pick someone from the end of this stream to win a shirt at the end. And let's start going into some of our commenters. Guys, if you want to join the stream, there's a link in the live chat. There's a pinned comment if you want to jump in there with us. Trey, we got Trey coming in now. Trey, how you doing, brother? Oh, look at that shirt, my friend.
See it, bro. Hey, I might not take this off for a good 3-4 days, honestly.
I got mine sitting in the back right there.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. What is it again?
You see it, bro.
Okay.
Wilson, baby. Real talk.
Okay.
Before we start, I just want to say, Robby, I'm a big fan, bro. I listen to you a lot. Just letting you know. But
appreciate it.
Fellas, man, I got on the stream with you guys, and my anxiety just shot through the roof, because this shit is 3 days away, man. I waited. I remember looking at Trevor Lawrence, just counting down the days to the draft, 150 days away, just 149, 148. And now we 3 days away. We not getting Trevor Lawrence. But I think we're in the I think we in the good with Zach, man. I mean, of course I have my doubts, but I feel like I'm gonna have my doubts about any quarterback not named Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, listen, with Lawrence, I thought it was silly to label him a generational quarterback from the beginning. You got to be picky with that. And I understand he was number 1 coming out of high school, number 1 coming out of college. He's always been in the spotlight, but you got to be picky with that. And I just don't know. I don't know for sure. And I don't see good numbers. If you ever watch him play, he's got a long release. Like if you compare the release between Zach Wilson and Lawrence is longer. Sometimes it's because of the play, because it's a RPO and he knows exactly where he's going with it.
Yeah.
But some of that scares me in terms of translating translatable skills to the NFL. So I wouldn't be so sure Jacksonville's ready to turn it around. You know, that's a mess. Their owner, Trent Baalke, Urban Meyer, I see that as a mess in the future.
But Jacksonville, they're kind of in the same situation with us, where it's like I'm not gonna say it's hard to mess up, but you really gotta try to mess that up. You got so many picks, and then you got the number one guy, and then you got Urban Meyer. It's like it's kind of impossible to come out of this not winning football games the next 10 years unless you just really bomb the draft and you can't pick picks.
Yeah, and it could happen. I mean, you never know. The key is being all on the same page. And these guys are all coming from different directions. As a Jets fan, you know, McCagnon and Bowles didn't know each other before they came together. Idzik and Ryan didn't know each other. Urban Meyer, Baalke, it's a situation where it's going to be interesting to watch.
Now, do you think there's any shot that Jacksonville surprises everyone? Like, I thought Baker Mayfield was going to become a New York Jet back in 2018, and then the day of the draft, we hear Baker Mayfield going number 1 overall, and Sam Darnold winds up falling. Do you think there's any shot that all the hype that has been brought up about Zach Wilson, could that trick I don't want to say trick, but could that get the Jaguars to pull the trigger on Wilson and Lawrence winds up falling to the Jets at number 2?
Nah, I'm sure they're thinking about it, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah. I think for me, I think it's like the GM that takes Trevor Lawrence does not get put on the hot seat. The GM that takes Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence, instant hot seat. Like, you better be successful right away if you're passing on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
especially in Jacksonville.
Definitely. So, hey, fellas, 23 though. I'm just saying, getting a guard or that could move to tackle with a 5th-year option, that's real nice. That's real nice. Like a Tevin Jenkins.
Jenkins and Elijah Vera Tucker, both of them have played tackle.
And here's the thing.
I don't think he's not going to be there, though. I doubt ABT be there. I really want him, though.
Can you pay both guys, Becton and the other tackle? Yeah, you can do that. Do you want to do that? Probably not. But then again, Becton, I love Becton. I love the guy, but he's got to stay healthy too at the same time.
Well, you know, George Fant, he wasn't that bad.
No, George Fant wasn't bad at all. Guess what? He could be even better in this system because this system favors his athleticism even more. Gase was a zone scheme guy, but it was more inside zone, mid to inside zone with a lot of flash action with the tight end. Right, and the floor is always to the outside. So that athleticism with Fant is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I think it's gonna be nice. I wouldn't be pressed to replace Fant though. I would rather if it was to get Tevin Jenkins, I would put him at guard, and then once Fant's contract runs out, then I'll probably move him over to tackle. You know what I'm saying?
It depends. Again, it depends who's there at 23. That's the whole kid.
Yeah, I feel you.
That's the whole kid.
Trey, thank you so much for jumping on.
Yes,
I'll burn you up. You've been ejected from the cockpit.
Ejected.
I gotta figure out how to get the chicken flying across on the on StreamYard. I haven't figured that out yet. Mud Files drops in with a super chat, says, "Evening guys, it's draft week. I would love to get Wilson and Creed. Let's run it." There's a lot of people who would like to see Creed Humphrey at pick 23 because the Steelers, I believe, are pick 24. So the thought process there is that they just had Pouncey retire. Creed's not making it past them. We could kick McGovern over to guard. Do you think they're sold on McGovern at center? Or do you think, like, if it came down to, like, okay, we didn't go after Lindsley, but Creed is younger and has a higher ceiling, like, is that enough to pull the trigger on Creed and kick McGovern to guard? Or are they rolling with McGovern at guard? Or center, rather?
I think Douglas is open to every possibility, but in a perfect world, he wants to leave McGovern at center because it'll be his second year, and he's better at center with some of the things he does, especially in the zone scheme. So I wouldn't mind Creed Humphrey at all. Dickerson's the guy I kind of want to stay away from.
Yeah,
but it's possible for sure.
The Pussy Assassin. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, got on late. Thought you was interviewing Shane McMahon and Isaiah Crowell. Wow.
Shane O'Mac.
We could roll that, Trey. I guess you look like Isaiah Crowell. I wouldn't have pegged you for that, but maybe it's the hair. Let's see. We got Anthony
Crowell had some serious talent.
He really did. He would bowl over guys. That was the last time I felt like I was really excited for like our running back stable, because there was a stretch of time where it was like, okay, we had Thomas Jones, we had LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Green for a little bit. Then you got Isaiah Crowell coming in. And since then, it's kind of been like middling sort of talent, like nothing that really gets me overly excited.
See, that's what Crowell is. He's the anti-Douglas guy. Like he was I think he was the number one rated running back coming out of high school in Georgia. And he just didn't fulfill those shoes. Maybe he didn't work hard enough. I don't know. That's speculation, but he had some serious talent for sure.
Trey drops in with a super chat. He says, appreciate the time, Ryan. Pick 23 for the O-line, D-line. It's D-line meaning edge. No interior defensive lineman, Trey. But yeah, offensive line, I think that's where a lot of Jet fans' heads are at. Anthony G is sitting backstage right now. Let's add Anthony to the chat. Anthony, how you doing, brother?
What's up, boys? How you doing?
Hey, Anthony, what's up?
Good. What's on your mind?
I'm so excited for this week, boys. I cannot wait.
It's been a long time coming. I've been like chomping at the bit. The draft is the one time a year for me that like, okay, the playoffs are fun, but there's only, a certain amount of teams in it. Then it's the Super Bowl. Like, oh, it's fun. I like watching the game. I like watching the commercials. There's, 2 teams in it that I usually hate. And then, you get to the draft and 32 teams are involved. And hopefully the Jets don't screw it up. But there's so much hope. That, like you said, hope is the perfect word.
It's hope. It sells. That's the thing.
Yeah. So
what's on your mind, brother?
I'm a big Zach Wilson guy. He's probably going to be a Jet, so I can't wait for that. And so today I got something on my mind now, because early today I was watching Jets Media's mock draft that they made with Ellie and Jack. In one mock draft they had Zach Wilson at 2, Elijah Vera Tucker at 23, and Creed Humphrey at 34. Like you're literally putting a wall in front of Zach Wilson. That's literally what you're doing. Like that would be great. I'm not. But the thing is, I think we might have to trade up for Elijah Vera Tucker though.
That's kind of where I fall as well. Like there's like last year with tackle, I really think that Douglas had a trade in place with Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville was pick 8 or something like that last year. And I think there was a thought, depending on when the tackles went off the board, I think he would have pulled the trigger to jump up to that point. And I think you're going to see something similar. I don't know if we'll get all the way up to 12 where Philadelphia is, but I think between 12 and like 20 or so, 19 and 20 specifically, with
like the Lions or someone like that. You don't think we would?
I don't think we'll go up that high. I think it'll be somewhere in the.
Because you would have to give up even more. We really would.
Yeah, if we could give up like our second round pick,
I don't want to give up like that. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to give up a first next year. That's the biggest thing.
I know.
I think again, just knowing Douglas, I think if there's a trade, he's going to trade back. I know fans don't want to hear that.
He's going to trade back with either 23 or 34. I have a feeling about that.
Yeah, I know fans don't want to hear that, but do I think he would trade up for Elijah Vera Tucker if he starts to make it to 18, 19, 20, 20? Yes, there's a possibility there. But again, he's locked in on players, not position. So it's tough to know. It's tough to know who he likes and who he doesn't. That's the thing no one knows, right? And less information is leaking out these days after McCagnon. So that's the thing that we don't know.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing about this whole regime. There's no leaks. Like it's all speculation, which is, I guess, fun for for YouTube channels and things of that nature, but it also keeps you shielded. Like when you had McCagnon, everything was telegraphed. It was just one thing after another. Meta would say something crazy, or Samini would come out and be like, "Oh yeah, like, this is what they're planning." No one had any of the Jets free agents.
For is Quinn Williams. That's literally the only draft pick I like. I didn't hate the Sam pick. No, I like the Sam pick, but that one didn't work out. Like
that one felt like it was the obvious pick. Like every pick that he made almost felt like the obvious pick, aside from like the Jamal one. Like not taking the quarterback to me was
year, I thought we were going to take Worse last year or CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, well, I liked Lamb.
I was high on Lamb last year.
Yeah, remember going into last year, I'd say more fans wanted receiver over tackle, and I didn't agree with it because receivers deep now. You can get receivers really deep in the draft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was going through my mock drafts last year, I was like, okay, I predicted that 3 of the tackles would go before the Jets pick. And I was like, you know what? Let's say Douglas doesn't like the 4th tackle. And then none of the receivers had gone. And I was like, okay, of these receivers, I love CeeDee Lamb. So I was really high on him. I would have been okay if they went that route. Getting Mims in the second round, home run. Mims in the second round, Becton in the first round. I would take that over CeeDee Lamb 100% of the time.
Yeah, me too.
And what I'd want to know is if Wills was there with Becton, who would he have picked? Wills or Becton? That's what I wanted to find out. And Blewett wanted Wills really bad too.
Listen, I'm not with the Becton pick. I'm just saying at that time, I wanted CeeDee Lamb. I thought back at that time, we just need a nice young wide receiver. But guess what? We can address that this year because we got plenty of picks.
Always inside out. Always inside out.
I would pick up 34. I really would.
You would take who would you take at 34?
I would take Tony at 34 if he's still there. I don't think he's going to be there. I doubt it.
Kadarius Toney and Terrence Marshall Jr. is another one people like, the receiver from LSU. I don't want to touch receiver. Like it's so weird to be flipping like this, where I was like, okay, so CeeDee Lamb last year, but then this year just kind of not like with the extra picks too.
We have no chance of getting a wide receiver like that this year. It's not like last year.
Well, that's like Lamb to me.
Drafted half that wide receiver class.
Yeah, we would have had our pick of the wide receivers. Like now, like Jamar Chase, incredible.
Ruggs, Justin Jefferson, all those guys.
Yeah,
there's a million of them.
Yep.
And now, Robby said it before, where the value of receiver now has kind of gone the way of running back because the rules favor the offensive side of the ball. You don't necessarily need the elite wide receiver anymore. If you have a bunch of really good guys, now you're not paying a receiver a crazy ton of money. Like Robby brought it up about the guard or tackle position at 23. If you wind up going pick 34, there's almost a lower expectation and a lower contract that you might have to go with at some point later on. So if you're picking in the first round, you're going with the elite positions like an edge rusher, like a cornerback, like a tackle, like a quarterback. Those are the high value second contract guys that I think it makes sense to do. And when you have like other positions, like a wide receiver drafted early on, now you're paying a lot of money to an area you may not necessarily want to do. So when Robby says build from the inside out, that's offensive line, defensive line, and work your way out, from that. So I like that a lot. Anthony, anything else for us, my friend?
So hopefully draft night's good, man. I'm really excited. I've been waiting for this day for a few months already. So hopefully it goes well.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
This is really the first day. This is going to be the first day of the new regime. Really, it starts now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like last year's draft felt like we were laying some of the bricks for this next year. So getting your quarterback at number 2, this changes everything. I almost wish they would like switch the Jet uniforms a little bit, like get rid of the stripe, bring back the old Jet swoosh on the side. But like, I guess there's a 5-year window is what I've heard. So they have to wait 3 years before they can do anything unless they want to pay a fine to switch stuff up. But man, it feels like a whole new breed. Do you remember that picture they took at the end or right before they launched, or maybe it might have been right as they launched the new uniforms, and they had like CJ Mosley and Sam Darnold and Enunwa and Williams and like Adams. It's just Mosley. He's the only one left.
I'll forever call that offseason the offseason of hype. It did nothing to build it. Signing Le'Veon Bell and Mosley, people hated me because I was anti-Bell, and it had nothing to do with Le'Veon. Le'Veon was a great professional with the Jets, but you just don't sign a running back when the offensive line's not ready. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't move anyone forward. And then the new uniforms, which I just wish they would go back to the old white helmets. If not that, that classic picture on Twitter with the 80s uniforms with Jamal in it. Yeah. I love those uniforms. They should have just copied that picture.
Yeah, there's a lot left to be desired. I like that they brought in the black side of things for the uniforms. I would have really liked to see like an F-16 gray, like alternate uniform, like we've never seen gray before, but where the Jets, like let's have an F-16 gray, at least somewhere in the color scheme, I think would have been a lot of fun to see. Chadwick drops in with a super chat. Chadwick says, what's your ideal first 3 picks he means 2, 23 and 34. Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, or Tevin Jenkins at 23. 34, I mean, I really like Asante Samuel Jr. If a Farley or a Newsome fell, I would go with them ahead of them. And then I think Jalen Phillips would be the other one that I would kind of look at there. What about you?
Where's Phillips going now? Like, how far down is he dropped?
I've seen him anywhere from 23, like to us, or I should say 20. I think 20 is the Bears or something. Basically from that pick through like just past the Jets at 34. So if you could, I think you're going to get someone really good at 34. I think it's going to be an edge or a corner that falls out. And I think maybe Douglas pulls the trigger on an injury concerned player like Farley, or I could even see that with the Ravens too, because I think the Ravens have 2 first-round picks now with the Orlando Brown trade. So they would be able to get it's almost like the Miles Jack situation with Jacksonville. They had their first-round pick. They took their first-round pick, and then the top of the second round, they were able to take someone that was injured, a big concern, but someone that was a top 5 talent. They were able to swing it on Miles Jack the same way I would like the Jets to kind of look at Caleb Farley, I think.
To be different, I'll go with Newsome at 23 and then Humphrey at 34. Humphrey or Davis.
Yeah, I think that from a financial standpoint and an ideal situation, like as long as the medicals check out on the cornerback is kind of the position I would like to target at 23. That's like, unless you really fall in love with one of the linemen, I think the cornerback need is just so big. We don't have that number 1 guy. Like I think Hall could be a number 1 guy, but I think he right now is number 2.
Yeah.
Let's see. I saw another one in here. Where to go? Is it Mitt Flair? Yes, Mitt Flair. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says pick 34 is possibly our most important pick. The rest of the draft depends on what we do with that pick. I think our draft between 23 and 34 that's the real meat and potatoes of this draft. Because 2, we know it's a quarterback. You can pencil it in whether you think everyone's penciled it in for Zach Wilson. It seems like that is the lock right now. Like the first 2 picks seem like they're set in stone already. So to me, 23, 34, both of them, it depends who falls. We're going to get a good player falling down to 23 because so many quarterbacks are going in that top 10, top 15. Like you got the top 3 are quarterbacks already. Then you have other players like, let's say Fields goes 3. Although it sounds like it might be Mac Jones or Trey Lance. It sounds like that's what they're zeroing in.
I think it's going to be Mac Jones, to be honest.
That's kind of that's the route I thought they would go because he feels more like the Jimmy Garoppolo and the Matt Ryan type of quarterback.
Yeah, and Shanahan's stubborn. He's stubborn. He's not unlike other coaches. Other coaches are stubborn. He believes in his scheme. He wants the scheme perfected. He doesn't want any deviation. So I think it's going to be Mac Jones, but we'll see.
So then at 4, if Mac Jones goes 3, 4, I'm getting the feeling it's going to be Kyle Pitts to Atlanta, not a quarterback. Like I've always kind of thought they were going to go with Justin Fields. I would like them to go Justin Fields. He's a Georgia kid. That feels like that might be a nice way for the board to fall, but I think it's going to be Kyle Pitts. And then I think that 5, where I would have had Sewell going to the Bengals, it almost feels like they're going to go with Jamar Chase. And then I would love that because the Dolphins kind of get screwed. They'd misread the board. I think they thought they were getting one of Pitts or Chase at 6.
Yeah, as a Jets fan, you want Chase at 5, but if you're a Bengals fan, if I was a Bengals fan, I'd lose my mind if they went Chase over Sewell.
you got to get Sewell. It feels like that has to be the pick for them, especially the way Burrow went down last year. I guess they like their left tackle right now, from what I've heard. Young guy. It just feels
and with
like
Atlanta, the Julio Jones stuff that just broke, they're in salary cap hell. So maybe they think of Pitts as a replacement for Julio offensively. But then again, what's their quarterback plan? They'll have, if it's Mac Jones at 3, it's going to be tough to pass on Fields and Lance. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's tough. Lance, to me, before this past college football season, he was my number 2 quarterback. I had him ahead of Fields and ahead of Wilson. Well, I didn't know Wilson at the time, I guess. And then we didn't get to see him. We saw him for the showcase game, and it was really weird. I'm not high, especially since the Jets are so high on the draft board. That you don't have to take the gamble on the one-year wonder like we did with a Sanchez, like some people did with, Washington did it with Haskins. Then you get some guys that perform well after 1 year of service, like Cam Newton, like Kyler Murray. It's so like tough, and it feels like volatile. You could get a boomer bust prospect, and with someone who has started multiple years in Zach Wilson, and even Justin Fields, I don't know. It's just tough to look at the quarterback situation. How old is Matt Ryan now? He's got to be 36.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So if they're trying to figure out what to do at quarterback,
35.
35. So Arthur Smith, I guess you have a little bit of time. I don't know if it depends how you feel, because there's a really good shot that you're not going to be up that high next year. And you have to kind of see, all right, well, if we're not picking number 1, are we willing to give up a ton of picks to go up and get a quarterback next year? Because it all depends on Matt Ryan. Now, who knows? Maybe Matt Ryan turns it around and he plays like a Drew Brees, a Tom Brady, where they go, late into their 30s, early 40s, and now you have a quarterback for 5 more years, and you really don't have to think about it. It's going to be fascinating for me to see how Arthur Smith feels about quarterback, because pick 4, that's where the draft starts, I think.
Yeah, I'm probably with you. I'd lean Pitts right now too, but it's tough. They could cut Ryan after They could cut Ryan after next season and save money. So that's where it gets interesting. Yeah,
and do you start grooming a quarterback now while giving yourself an opportunity to play well and not force the rookie in? I think that is an interesting situation. I think you could. I mean, what is his? Now I got to pull up his contract, because
who, Ryan?
Is his contract tradable next year?
After this year, they could save money after 2021. Like right now, they couldn't move him. Right now, they couldn't move him. It would cost too much. But
yeah, if they were to cut him, it's a $38 million dead cap hit. It's not good.
Yes.
They would save $8 million next year if they cut him. And then $28 million the year after if they cut him. If they were to trade him next year, the team taking on Matt Ryan's contract would pay $25 million and then like $15 million the next year. So that could be an option for a team.
And then the Julio Jones stuff. The Julio Jones stuff makes it interesting with Pitts. So
what's going on with him? Is he contemplating retirement, or is it the contract that's really the issue?
I didn't really read into it too much today, but all I know is there's chatter that they might be thinking about moving him because of their cap situation.
Yeah, they're sitting right now. Let me see. Cap space. As of right now, they are $6 million over the cap projected. They are technically under the cap right now at $929,000. But to get up over the 53-player threshold, it's going to put them a little over $6 million if they were to sign the minimum number of players to reach that threshold. So, man, if they're
in a disaster spot right now. They got to trade. They got to trade Julio.
If you trade him, I guess pre-June 1st, so they would get a cheap contract, which is nice. They'd lose $200,000, so they'd have to make some other type of move pre-June 1st to save cap space. But if you can get a draft pick, if they can get, I don't know, what do you get for Julio right now? Is it a second-round pick? Is it? I don't think it's a first. Maybe a late first from a team that's like contending. Like
Maybe, but no, I think you're on with the second round pick.
if the Ravens
probably
have two first round picks. Now, if you're the Ravens and you're like, hey, we got to give Lamar a weapon, do you throw one of those first round picks for Julio?
Maybe Julio
I think.
and a fourth, or Julio and a third for one of those picks.
Yeah. From a Jets fan perspective, I don't like a 32-year-old wide receiver who's had a little bit of a tough time staying on the field.
I wouldn't touch him.
For that type of team, like a Super Bowl ready team, I could see the attraction for a Julio Jones.
Yeah. Because especially the guaranteed money's out of the way.
Yes. Kyle comes in with a super chat, says, let's not overthink it. Take O-line at 23 and at 34. Take the best DN, because when you help out your D-line, you're also helping out your cornerbacks. Kyle, that is a great point. It's something we were talking about with the defensive line argument. When you can have 4 good defensive linemen rush the passer and create pressure, you have more guys dropping back in coverage. It makes it a lot harder on the quarterback to diagnose that defense.
Right. And when you think about a starting defense, you have the image in your mind. Okay, free safety, strong safety, 2 corners, 3 linebackers, 4 defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. That's not really it. It's 5 DBs, 3 linebackers, 8 defensive linemen, because you're constantly rotating. You're constantly rotating up front. That's just the way the D-line is. And right now, actually, the Jets are pretty good to fill those 8 spots, but they could use another edge rusher. But they don't have to. They're in a great position where they're not forced to for the first time in decades.
Yeah, you look at Vinny Curry, he's on a 1-year contract. I've been trying to push Vinny Curry for like the last 3 years. So the fact that we finally got him now, I'm like pretty happy with. But I think he's like 33, 34 years old. So you got to have someone. Curry feels to me like the guy that's going to spell Lawson more than like a guy that's going to play opposite Lawson. Am I right in thinking that?
Jason Taylor, he's kind of gonna take a Jason Taylor role with Rex Ryan.
Yeah, situational pass rusher.
Yeah, and you'll have, you're probably right. He could spell Lawson, but he'll play opposite Lawson as well. Okay. Who's gonna push him on the outside? That's the question. Will it be Huff? Mm-hmm. John Franklin Myers? I think he could start edge in base with Foley and Quinnen inside. But when it gets to those 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs, put JFM next to Quinnen or Rankins next to Quinnen, and then Curry and Lawson on the outside.
That's exciting. Like, this is the first time I feel like the Jets have had an edge presence really since like 2005, I guess. Like when it's been long,
and they could, and he's right. The guy that just wrote in with the super chat, another edge could be needed, no question, because JFM, you want him and Rankins and Quinnen, those 3 inside for 2 spots.
100%. All right, we're gonna bring in some video callers. If you guys want to get in on the video call, there's a link in the pinned section of the live chat. All you have to do is click on that, and we will queue you guys up. And if you want to get into our shirt giveaway at the end of the stream, before the end of the stream, we're going to give away a shirt at the end of the stream, but then the link in the description down below, first link is a link to Jets X Factor. All you have to do is go to that channel, subscribe to the channel, like the most recent video, and leave a comment saying Jets Talk sent you over there. And we're going to pick a winner at the end of the stream to win a cool shirt. And it might be a Wall Street Wilson shirt. So if you guys want your shot to get that, make sure you head over. That's my shirt. Oh yeah.
Oh, I got to get one of those.
Right. I'll send you one. I had, I was looking, I was like, you know what? Wall Street Wilson. I hate Wall Street, but I really love like the nickname. And then I saw the Wall Street Bets guy from the subreddit, and he's got like, he's holding the diamonds in his hands and everything. I was like, this is gonna be fun, especially with all the current event stuff with like Wall Street getting hit with all the internet guys. Oh, I love it.
And what's the other one? Zach's Fifth Avenue.
I've seen Zach's Fifth Avenue. I've seen. I saw one. It was a picture. Remember Wilson from Castaway, the volleyball? It had the Jets logo with the Wilson face, underneath it. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Maybe I'll throw that on.
That's a good one too.
People have come up with some really good ones. There's Zach the Ripper. I've heard a lot of people say. That one, I don't know how you make a shirt of that though. That's the tough thing, because it's like no one ever knew who Jack the Ripper, right? Jack the Ripper was. They never actually like caught him.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
All right, let's go over to our live call-ins. Mutt Viles, our friend, coming in. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Yo, what's good, guys? How's everyone's night going?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, I'm having a great time hanging out with Robby, talking to all you guys. You excited for the draft, brother?
Of course, it's draft season, man. I honestly can't wait, and I'm praying to God they let me out of work early because I just worked an over 12-hour shifts. Not a fan of that.
What is your scheduled clock out time?
I'm hoping they let me out by like 7 the latest. I'm hoping
Okay.
let me out today at like 8:30.
You should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8:30 is when the draft actually kicks off, I think, right? Like that's the start off point.
Yeah.
What is it, 8 or 8:30?
Yeah, it might be 8 o'clock is when coverage starts, and then I think maybe by the time the Jets pick, it'll be 8:30. It's nice because Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be there, so Zach Wilson gets to be the first pick taken in person. If he's our guy. Now, Mutt Viles, what are you thinking? What are you thinking with our picks? You thinking Wilson is definitely number 2, and what do you want to see at pick 23 and 34?
Zach Wilson being our pick. Definitely, that's a yes. I would love to see that though, but I'm in the back of my head, I'm really just praying for the whole Baker Mayfield thing again. So this way Wilson goes to Jacksonville and we take Trevor Lawrence because I don't know. I was just like really high on him though ever since with when he was coming out and we were doing really bad. I was like, yo, Trevor can come and just turn this thing around. But I know Zach Wilson can too. With 20,
dude, I'm almost at the point with Zach Wilson where I'm so excited for him, his release, the like processing power, like everything about him. I would almost be disappointed at this point if Lawrence fell to us. I'd be like, oh no, now the expectations are so much higher.
See, the ultimate pessimistic fan base, like something crazy, unforeseen has to happen for everything to turn around. Like the Red Sox down 0-3 and 0-4, they'll never win. They're as pessimistic as anybody. They overcome a 3-0 deficit. No one thought it was possible. The Jets trying to tank for Lawrence. What if it takes something crazy like Wilson was better all along and no one knew for it to turn around? So that's kind of how I see it. For things to turn around and to get the pessimistic fan base going, something we didn't see coming has to happen.
That's just it. You have to get that little bit of a spark. Once the spark hits, it could be the signing of Robert Saleh. It could be the drafting of the second quarterback in this draft, not the generational one. I mean,
listen, if he's generational, there shouldn't be anyone picking Wilson over Lawrence. And there's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of people. There's too many people picking Wilson over Lawrence at this point. So that's what concerns me from a Lawrence point of view.
For sure. Mutt Viles, what are you thinking about pick 23?
23 is going to be a lineman. Rather if it's Creed Humphrey because we picked before Pittsburgh. I know you were saying before that they had 24. Why not take the center at 23 if Elijah Vera Tucker is not there? So I think you and Matt, I think it was, though, both you guys love Elijah Vera Tucker, but he ain't falling past 15, if anything. Especially
I don't think he's falling.
Going to Kansas City, I can see New England taking him, if anything. So Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, they just lost. Yeah, if they lost Tooney, so I could see them replacing him with Vera Tucker, and I could see from what I've heard Tevin Jenkins is high up on the Jets list, and I don't know if that's a smokescreen because you got to be careful of everything you hear this time of year. But there could be some options for the Jets at 23. I think if those linemen are gone, it's got to be cornerback.
Me, though, a corner. I honestly want us to get Asante Samuel. Like, I want us to somehow get another second-round pick. Like, we trade Marcus May for a 2. Mm-hmm. If somehow we end up the latest, maybe 45, I want Asante Samuel with that pick. Unless if somehow, like, what was his name? Farrell, the guy who kept dropping. Farley, yeah. Farley, unless somehow he falls into that pick, I want Samuel because I've been doing a lot of my drafts whenever I watch you guys, and Samuel's always gone before 50. Always.
Dude, I wanted, when we were trading Sam, I was like, okay, we're going to get a second-round pick for Sam this year. So I always thought, like, okay, O-line, edge rusher, corner in conjunction with the quarterback at 2. We're getting that before the 3rd round. Like, I'm pumped. I love it. Now we don't have that second-round pick, and I'm like, God, there's like just that little bit is missing from my arsenal that I really wanted. And you brought it up, and I think Greenbean was the one that was talking about it recently, was Marcus May going into the last year of his deal. Do you let him walk at the end of the year? Because I really don't see us re-signing him after this year. I think do you let him walk and try to get a comp pick in 2023? Or do you move on from him at some point this year? You get the second round pick this year. You have Ashton Davis. Maybe you bring in someone like Richard Sherman to play safety for a year. I don't know. I don't want to lose Marcus May, but I think it's an interesting option to get more ammo.
It depends how he plays, really. I mean, the good thing for May and Ashton Davis is Salah's defense. A lot of quarters, a lot of cover 3, a lot of 2 high. It's not free safety, strong safety defined, where Greg Williams would always have the strong safety up near the box, free safety in an angel position. Salah's defense is more where both safeties do a lot of everything, where they could, interchange. So that's good for Davis, May, and Joyner too.
Our improvement, go with it. Trade Marcus May for a 2. But I would try and get it this year because people need safeties. They need secondary help. I'm not sure if Denver would need it only, like, for example, because they just they just paid Justin Simmons for like a stupid amount of money that Jamal Adams wants.
Oh yeah, dude! No way Jamal Adams is getting his money. I think he's. I don't want to say he's done, but I don't think someone's paying him. I don't think he re-signs in Seattle. I think he winds up going to somewhere like Dallas on a discount.
Usually when guys demonstrate they'll do whatever it takes to get their way, usually the second team's not their last team. Like Beckham too. I don't think Beckham will finish with the Browns. So yeah, you're spot on. And Adams, that's got to be rough not getting paid now. He's got to go through another year.
I think they're going to franchise him too. I could see that happening where they're just like, okay, we got to justify these 2 firsts we gave up for you. We're going to franchise tag you. And the franchise tag is different than it was in the past. It used to be the average of the top 5 at your position for that year. Now it's the average of the top 5 at your position over the course of the last 5 years. And so it drops by like 10%. So it's like, Jamal, probably should have kept your mouth shut.
He's going to have to wait a little bit longer. And Douglas getting that package for him was ridiculous. I mean,
absolutely incredible. Changed his franchise.
Yeah.
Seattle has to sign him. Seattle has to sign Jamal. If they don't sign him, then they just took 2 first-round picks and threw him out the window. That's straight what they did.
Well, it's definitely what is going to happen. But do you compound that by paying a safety as much as Jamal's going to want to get paid? I don't know. I don't know if that's a better decision. Like, it might just be roll with him for 2-3 years, hit him with the franchise tag and then just let him walk. It
depends where they're at as a franchise too. Like if they're rebuilding, if they decide, okay, we're going to trade Russell Wilson and blow this whole thing up, then he's gone. If they decide let's keep it intact and keep going, they'll probably keep him around.
One of my friends and tried to bring this up to me is like, what if Joe Douglas re-signs him after getting 2 first-round picks? I was like, stop.
No.
I'm not. Look. If we can pay him like for Marcus May, like 11.
No.
Then maybe.
Mud Vials. No.
Listen.
God. No. Mud Vials. You're out. No. Bad Mud
Vials.
No.
I wouldn't say never. I wouldn't say never say never, but yeah, I hear you.
Butt Vials, thank you so much for hanging out with us and asking the questions. It's almost like trade away Lavernius Coles and you wind up getting him back later on, like almost like that. But I like Coles. I don't like Jamal. I think Jamal's
all right. So what if it only took $7 million for a year? Would you sign him?
I think I'm spiteful. I for $7, I think $7 million, the way Jamal went about his business and the way he dragged us through the dirt, I don't think there was any reason to do it. And out of spite, I would probably say no. But the sports fan, any other team that could get him for $7 million, I think would be stupid not to get him for $7 million.
I mean, listen, it was a bad business. If I'm around him, I'm like, Jamal, this is a bad business move for you to be acting like this. I know this system sucks. It's not the NBA. I know you love LeBron and Kobe and all the guys, but it's not the NFL is not the NBA. It's not a superstar league. It's a value league. And This is the way the CBA is. So you demonstrating you'll do whatever it takes to blow it up, to blow up your situation and go public. That's a bad business move for you in the future. That's less money for you in the future. So I just don't get it.
100%. All right. Up next, we got Sneakers to Boots. Sneakers to Boots, thank you so much for joining the cockpit. Welcome, my friend. How you feeling about the draft?
Doing good, guys. How you guys doing? I'm feeling pumped up for this draft. You know, this is the first time that Joe Douglas actually gets to have the keys to the car, and we'll see what kind of car he's going to drive.
Yeah, I mean, he's like I said earlier, the fact that he put an end to that streak, no offense, that's a football sin beyond words. To not draft a first-round offensive lineman in 14 years, that's no wonder why you can't have success on offense. So he put that streak to bed last year with Becton, and then signing Carl Lawson. Those are two wonderful things. So every Jets fan should be optimistic, and I see a lot of people thinking Wilson's going to be a bust. It's an easy bust call. That's the easy thing to do. Label it a bust. I think you should be optimistic based on the people that have come in and what Douglas has done.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, us Jet fans, we're pretty much like hopeless romantics. All we do is just hope for the best thing. And it's pretty amazing how bad we've messed up the past 10 to 12 years. Not even, it feels like it's almost on purpose, but it's not. It's like, how do you not put together a team with an offensive line that's like even the most common sense of just football knowledge?
You know where they went wrong?
Having GMs as accountants.
That ends, if you think about it, the two great years with Rex Ryan, he was handed one of the best teams, one of the best rosters in the league. With Mangold, you look at that team that was so talented. No quarterback, grant you that. But they were so talented. They were one of the best rosters in the league. Rex does a good job those first 2 years. Mike Tannenbaum and Mangini drafted tremendously. But once Rex got there, Rex and Tannenbaum drafted horribly. So why was Tannenbaum so great and then so bad? Rex had a lot of personnel say. And from there, it just kept on going down and down and down. Idzik comes in. Rex is still calling a lot of the shots. Goes down, goes down, goes down. One patch year with McCagnon and the aggressive rebuild, and they just haven't gotten off, on the right foot since. But it really started during those good years where the talent really started to decrease.
I wish we had gotten to see a full year of Brett Favre healthy, because we were 8-2, 8-3 at that point, and we were just cruising. That team was so good, and then Favre hurt his shoulder, and it was just it all fell apart after that. And that team between the 2009 and 2010, 2009 was that was a loaded roster, but 10 was the year I thought for sure the Jets had the shot to win the Super Bowl. Like if Sanchez could do it, and then it wound up being the defense in the playoffs that kind of fell apart at that point.
Pittsburgh came out and ran all over them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will never forget those 2 years. Those were probably the best 2 years Jet fans have had since. What, 98 when we go last?
Or 3? Well,
yeah,
that was I think that the last time. I think it was 2002 or 3 when the Jets won the division, and was that the year that the Jets needed the Dolphins to beat the Patriots or the Patriots to beat the Dolphins? That might be my favorite game that I've ever been to, because it was a 4:00 game.
Packers.
Yep.
Where they crushed the Packers. The Patriots did the Jets a favor by beating Miami. And then they crushed the Packers and they crushed the Colts in the playoffs the following week at home. If you think about it, since Parcells, I love this stat. So from 1960 to 1997, they made the playoffs 7 times. When Parcells came in 97, they made the playoffs 7 times over the next 13 years. So Parcells coming in changed everything. He implemented a culture. He changed the way they did business, and they made the playoffs as many times as they had in 13 years or whatever it was over the course of their first 37.
So that actually is a great point. So everyone's freaking out. It's oh, we're going to bring in Mike LaFleur and then he's going to be gone in 2 years. It's actually a good problem to have. I mean, I hope he's not gone in 2 years, but say 3, 4, kind of instill all of those coaches who are beneath him, give them pretty much the blueprint and just start running with it, because to have built success over time, you need to have a blueprint. You can't just wing it every year. Sam had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years he was here. He didn't have a quarterbacks coach. What rookie can come into a system like that and actually have success? It just doesn't add up. Like Tom Brady's had the same system for how long?
Yeah. And when they hired Gase, it was, I mean, Matt Rule said it. He said, I would never go to an organization that forces a defensive coordinator on me. They were forcing Greg Williams on, reportedly, were forcing Greg Williams on the next head coach. And Gase, being desperate, took that on. So it kind of made 2 head coaches not on the same page. And you can't do that. You have to, there needs to be a hierarchy in football. The GM needs to be the boss. And then the head coach needs to be the boss who reports to the GM. And the head coach needs to make every coaching staff decision. And for the first time in a long time, it's rolling that way.
So sneakers to boots. If we're going quarterback at 2. What do you want to see the Jets do at 23 and 34?
They got to go interior offensive line. I mean, I'm a big fan of double dipping at interior offensive line. It's kind of Joe Douglas's bread and butter. I mean, he's been one. Even when I was younger, I played football. I've been one. I know how much camaraderie and cohesiveness you need to have that offensive line. I wouldn't go Landon Dickerson, though, just because he's so much more of a power lineman off the ball straight ahead. He's not more side to side. In a Gase offense, that'd be great, but not a.
Yeah. What do you think about Creed Humphrey?
I like him, but I do think McGovern is going to have a better year, especially in the zone scheme on the edge that we're going to be playing this year. I know he also plays guard, but I like McGovern. I think I trust Joe with the offensive line. That's just straight up. Whatever he wants to do.
Especially since he was he was a top 10 center last year, before last year. And then you have the whole Gase offense, and then he's got terrible guards on either side of him. So I think improving the guard play and changing the offense in general will help McGovern grow, and having a preseason. I think having a preseason was another thing that just hurt our offensive line. I think it might have been Nania or Blewett that said since week 8, McGovern was playing like a top 10 center again.
Yeah, he did improve, and it's improved. The offensive line as it currently stands right now is improved, not because of anyone they brought in, but because of the scheme, because of the coaching. So we got to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a perfect whirlwind of just crap hitting the fan for the Jets, and the whirlwind kept going. It was beautiful when Greg Williams sent that all-out blitz, and our Trevor Lawrence hopes were still alive, and then they just got crapped on again. We still can't even lose correctly. But, I think, honestly, Zach Wilson is probably a better fit. Trevor Lawrence is great, but like Robbie, you were saying before, like his release it takes 4 or 5 seconds, it feels like, in real time.
It's absurd. And that's today's NFL, too. Split-second reaction decisions, reading leverage. If you have hands like that and you don't see, the one thing I worry about Wilson with his injuries, he doesn't connect his lower body with his upper body. He doesn't drive all the time, which makes me worry about his elbow and his shoulder long term. But on the positive, that fits today's NFL perfectly, where you don't have to drive and you could just release it, on a whim.
Yeah, if he just gets that back foot under him on most of his throws, he's good to go. Because he kind of just plays in video game mode and just kind of just offsets his body and just throws from all different platforms. It's beautiful to watch, but over time, you're forcing a lot of stress on your arm.
Yeah, but
what do you want to? Go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, if he has a 10-year career, I'll take that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like an explosive 10-year career is better than the 15-year career of It's almost like the argument with Lamar Jackson, right? Some people will say okay, he's that lightning in a bottle. You're going to get an elite 8 years out of him, but his body's going to be opened up to so many shots that you're not going to have the duration. You're not going to have a Tom Brady duration career or an Aaron Rodgers duration or a Drew Brees duration career, but you're going to have a very explosive 8 years.
And
I think that's fine.
Yeah, you're right. And the other point is this is not the same old NFL. I mean, if you tried to run a read option consistently in the early 90s, you'd have to have your head examined. Quarterbacks would get killed. But today, it started with the Wildcat, went into the zone read with RG3 and Kaepernick, and you see it now all the time. Greg Roman's system, jet motion. Jet motion couldn't be run in the 80s. Receivers would get killed off the edge. It's just not a physical league anymore like it used to be, which helps Lamar Jackson, which will help Zach Wilson. So that's the other side of it too.
Yeah, Ryan. I have one more question before I go, so you can get to other callers.
Sure.
First, I would be cool with just a quarterback that can stick around and have 3 good seasons in a row, like Ryan Fitzpatrick seasons. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. Like, we need a quarterback for Ryan Fitzpatrick seasons. But my question is that what do you think Chad Pennington would have been if he didn't have? I know he had 2. I don't know if he had 3 shoulder surgeries on the same shoulder for rotator cuff. I mean, I know he wasn't always a deep ball guy, but he was so accurate, and he had the leadership qualities, and we had great teams, and then it just unfortunately went down the drain because of the injuries. So if he didn't have those, what do you think would have happened?
I love Chad. If we had had Chad healthy for 08, 09, 2010, I think there's a real good shot the Jets get to the Super Bowl in one of those years. The only thing is Sanchez had the arm to be able to get the ball down the field occasionally, and it depends how strong, I guess, you felt Pennington was at the deep ball, which it never really felt like his strong suit, but I don't know if that was like when he came out of college, it felt like he was able to throw the deep ball. And then
Moss
after
helped him in that regard too.
That's true too. You have an elite, wide receiver with him at Marshall. I don't know. I think the Jets could have gone to a Super Bowl with those teams with Chad if he was healthy, but I don't know if Chad, given his limitations, would have been enough to overcome the NFC teams those years to get it done. So I don't know if that answers the question so much.
I see like a Phil Simms, where that kind of career, not that type of player, but a quarterback who could win a Super Bowl with a great team.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for the time, Robbie.
Right,
Sneakers Boots, thank you so much for coming on. You've been ejected from the cockpit. Mutt Viles comes in with a super chat. Mutt Viles, thank you so much. He says, that one hurt. My friend was the one who was saying it to me. I wouldn't get him. He burnt the bridge when he wanted out. He's saying about Jamal and bringing him back. I think that was what Mutt Viles getting at there. Guys, if you want to get your chance to win a shirt, we got about 19 minutes left in the stream. All you have to do is click on the first link in the description down below. That's going to take you to Jets X Factor. That is Robbie's channel. Him, Blewett, and Nania put out some great videos over there. All you have to do is subscribe to that channel, like their most recent video, and comment Jets Talk sent you on the first video or most recent video that they have. And then we're going to pick a winner at the end of this stream to get a shirt. It could be a Wall Street Wilson shirt. So you might be getting one of those at the end of the stream. All right. We got Adam joining us. Adam, thank you so much for waiting, my brother. How are you doing on this fine Monday night?
It's a Monday in my world.
Nothing too exciting, I guess.
It's the start of the week for me, so it's good.
So are you excited? This is draft week, baby. I'm all sorts of pumped up. I can't wait. Thursday just can't come fast enough for me.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. I'm excited that the Jamal Adams trade turned into 23. So it's kind of more of like the kind of things. And then even with Sam, it's kind of sad it didn't work out, but it's kind of more of like, great. It'd be great if we get like a kicker that's like really good in the 6th round this year and like actually kicks like game-winning field goals. And like, man, that was a great trade, just overall from that.
Oh yeah. Everything about the whole like Jamal Adams trade and the Sam Darnold trade, it feels like we're starting a fresh slate. Like if you had run it back with Sam with the new coaching staff, it would have felt like, but like, next year we got to get the quarterback if Sam doesn't click. And you're asking Sam to go from 32nd ranked quarterback since he entered the league to top 10 level quarterback. So kind of wiping the slate clean, getting rid of Jamal Adams, you kind of get all the bad blood out. Not that Le'Veon Bell was like bad blood at all. No. But I think, moving on from him, I think moving on from CJ next year, really resets this roster, and it allows the Jets to move forward with the mindset that they want from a draft and from a free agent and from a coaching perspective.
Yeah. I also like Robby Sabo and his like CEO approach that we're kind of taking of actually having like a quarterbacks coach. I definitely know instead of having like two people kind of pioneer, you actually have like a group that actually be like, okay, we dedicate to offensive line, the passing game, the running game. So those are definitely things. I'm definitely curious. It's definitely probably won't be this year, but it'll probably be next year. Will be forthcoming. It'll be definitely in years past where we've seen draft picks and they just don't work out. Of like how many are constantly on the team to kind of almost. I know like not all the draft picks like work out. It just happens, but like what percentage stays on? And it was just not like, wow, that was just a whiff. Like 2 years later, you're just like, all right, we drafted some wide receivers in the third, fourth round. Who are they again?
Gone. It's like Chad Hansen and like all these receivers that we brought in under McCagnon. It's you want to see some of these players stick around. And I guess there's a few players that I fear, like Zuniga is one that I'm a little worried about. Like, is he going to stick long-term? He was a 3rd-round pick. Cameron Clark, I want to see a little bit out of him this year. And I don't need to be a starter. Like if Cameron Clark can be a depth piece for, 5 years, that's a valuable asset. At least he's on your team. He's helping you. It's not like in the past where you have guys like Kyle Wilson or Quentin Coples and you're just, rotating through 1st-round picks one after the other. That's supposed to be the foundation of your team.
Yeah, you can never build from – see that when people scream about free agency, I understand. It's another hope thing. You want the best players. You want your Jets Madden team to have the best stars.
Right.
But that's not how it works in the NFL. Free agency can only be viewed as the icing to the cake, to the foundation. You can't do it like the NBA.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, the only anomaly right now is the Rams. They're the only ones out of 31 teams, and they're still like kind of playing with fire.
Yeah, and they still have a nucleus too, though. They built the nucleus, but you're right, they're playing with fire. They're on their last legs.
They have no draft picks. I want to say since they took Jared Goff, like from that draft on, they haven't had a 1st-round draft pick in like 7 years. Or 6 years or so. It's like bananas how long it's been. And they brought in what? They're both cornerbacks, I think, were brought in via trade. Donald was a pick back when they were in St. Louis.
Cooper Kupp was a great pick.
Yes.
A couple offensive linemen, is it Havenstein? Yeah, Havenstein. Whitworth was a huge free agent signing. The Giants should have got him that offseason. And then Aaron Donald. What Aaron Donald does for the whole defense, that's another homegrown guy. So they did. It's been a while though. Like to your point, it's been a long time.
I guess you'd almost rather trade away draft picks and get proven commodities if you're not 100% concrete on your GM. Like if you're going to draft whiffs, I'd rather not draft the whiffs and trade those picks for the elite players. It doesn't feel like a sustainable type of move. Like it feels like if the whole Matthew Stafford experiment doesn't go well, that team is going to be bad for a while.
It's coaching too. Coaching lifts them.
100%. McVay has been, and that's the Shanahan tree, right? He was from Washington with him, I believe.
Yes.
I think they were. I want to say it was. I could be wrong on that. I think it was Washington is where McVay's from, but I'm pretty sure he's a Shanahan disciple. Adam, we're going quarterback at 2. What do you want to see us do at 23 or 34?
I would definitely say offensive line, 23. Almost kind of semi-recreate the Nick Mangold, DePerkishaw, and Ferguson like draft because that kind of held us down. If we go like early offensive lineman, I'd be okay with like the 4th or 5th taking an offensive lineman. I kind of want to see what Cameron Clark's all about because I feel like he got hurt with the preseason just not happening. So I want to see like, was he also an effect of Adam Gase, like Chris Herndon too? Was that also kind of the effect of that? If not, okay, fine, a depth piece, right? piece right there.
Mhm.
Second round pick. I'd say linebacker because I've definitely heard with Joe Blewett and Yanania and Sabo and you that we need linebackers. Like, I think that's the kind of most part of, like, it's not a sexy pick, but overall it's more of, if you can shed a tackle, you can get a tackle, you know. So
sure, I think there's an opportunity for the Jets this year, and I think I don't want to see it happen at pick 34, just because I don't love like picking a linebacker. But I think with Salah's background being in the linebacker core and everything, I could see him valuing that a lot higher, and I could see McCagnon going on that side of like, okay, hey, look, if this is going to be your guy, like for the next 5-10 years, like that is our linebacker. You're getting a Luke Kuechly or someone like that. Like, yeah, go out and get your guy in the second round. You plug a hole rather than, you know, taking a swing at a guy that maybe could be injury prone, like maybe a Caleb Farley or, you know, some other player that has red flags. Maybe Douglas decides, hey, we need guys that are going to hit, and the Jets are not right now in a position to roll the dice on some other players like that. I could see it. I could see that sort of happening. Adam,
I'll take that instead of as Salah's like linebacker than the James Morgan pick by Adam Gase, because that one didn't make any sense. Where you're like, okay, but
I didn't like the Morgan pick at all. I still don't like the Morgan pick. Sabo, what did you think about the Morgan pick?
I would have preferred something else too, but the jury's still out. Right. I mean, a lot of these guys, there's no minor leagues in football, so a lot of these guys are developmental guys. Like Cameron Clark, he's a developmental guy. And actually, I think he might get hurt in the LaFleur system because he's not the best athlete. But who knows? I mean, he's a developmental guy. Morgan, too, is a developmental guy. He's like a red shirt. So the jury's still out. Maybe he's something that we don't know he is yet. Anything's possible.
Adam, anything else to add before I eject you from the cockpit?
Let's just draft a kicker in like the 5th or 6th round. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, you know, Nani is big on that. So, I mean, I'm actually okay with that. There's a couple guys, too, at the end who are worth
McPherson, Bordalis. Those are the two guys that I'm looking at.
All right.
Yeah, McPherson.
Adam, thank you so much for coming on. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Boom, kick him. Sorry. I'm big on the kicker. I liked taking the punter. What was it, 6th round last year? You're solving a starting position on your team with a pick that generally winds up being a depth piece or like a throwaway pick on like a gamble. So I'm okay spending a later round pick on someone, especially like a kicker who's going to get you a ton of points. And it's been just a nightmare for the Jets the last 2 years, ever since we got rid of Justin Myers or Jason Myers. The kicking position has just been such a bane of our existence. And there's part of me that says, okay, let's just wait and get one in free agency because there's going to be enough of them. But taking the guy, you have his rights then for 4 years. You don't have to worry about, you know, the top kicker going to a Super Bowl caliber team. Like the Jets aren't necessarily a desirable destination. And if other teams want kickers, I could see them going to those teams as opposed to like a team like the Jets.
Yeah, and Bill Parcells used to always say, don't take the foot out of football with special teams. Although, you know, they're going to be abolishing the kickoff any year now, you know, so it's become less and less important. But field goals ain't going anywhere, and extra points either, which are much more difficult. So it's critical.
Yeah, I'm so torn on the kickoff thing. Like, actually, no, I shouldn't say I'm so torn. I love kickoffs. I love special teams. I hate kickoffs for the last like 5-6 years, whatever it's been now. I'd rather get rid of it and do a 4th and 15 for an onside kick, because onside kicks are impossible now. You don't get the special points. Like we'll never have a Devin Hester. Like the onside kick side of things, I want to say it went from like a 17 or 20% recovery rate to like nothing. Like it was really like, I want to say it was like 2% maybe.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, just get rid of the kickoff already. Start at the 25 or 20 and make the onside kick, a 4th and 15 from your own 35, something like that.
Yeah, 100%. It felt like the Jets for the longest time were such a good special teams team, like the kick returners, Leon Washington, Justin Miller, Chad Morton, Brad Smith. Yeah, we just had guy after guy come in, and that was the exciting part of our team. And to lose that aspect of the game is just so sad. And I get it; it's a safety thing, but if you're not going to have that excitement, just remove it. It's such a BS play at this point.
And during Rex's days with the Jets, the Ruthian days, that was like the last era where a defensive team could win football games. Defensive teams can't win football games anymore. Yeah, you want a good defense, but it's just impossible. They discriminate against defensive players. It's outrageous.
100%. Guys, down below in the description, there is a link to Robby's channel, Jets X Factor. Make sure you go follow that. Subscribe to that channel if you want to win a shirt at the end of the stream. We're going to be giving that out in just 5 minutes time. Robby, I'm going to have you go over to your YouTube channel, go to your most recent video. Just cue that up for us because I'm going to have you wind up picking our winner for tonight's shirt. So all you guys have to do is like that video, subscribe to Jets X Factor, and leave a comment saying Jets Talk sent you there, and we're going to pick someone at the end of the stream. We just had Coach Salah sitting in the little waiting room down below, and he just clicked off. I was just about to switch to him, so I guess I won't do that. We'll take a look at the live chat, kind of see what you guys are talking about over there. Deanie Dart, Shawnee Dart says, "Love the kicker spot to end the weekend." I'm a big fan of that. Blue was saying Nanny is big on McPherson, the kicker from Florida. Yep. I think it's Florida.
I don't remember.
He's got the big time leg. I like Borgalis. Borgalis seems like he's the accurate one of the, not that McPherson's not accurate, but it seems like he had the better 2020 campaign. He missed 2 field goals between, I want to say it was 40 and 49 yards, but he had a long of 56. So I like that aspect of it. But honestly, any kicker that gets us consistent points, just a relative, give me a top 15 kicker in the NFL. I'd be tickled pink with top 15 after the last 2 years. Oh
yeah. How about what's his name? Doug Bryan from 2004. Anyone but him.
Oh man, that was brutal. That Steelers game. Was it 3 missed field goals that he had at the end of that game, or was it 2? It was awful.
It might have been.
Santana Moss returns that punt, and we're like, "Oh, we're having it. This is it."
Then, Tongue, was it Reggie Tongue, the safety who returned an interception? I'll never forget my friend. It was me, 3 of us, and me and my other friend were rooting for the Jets, and the third friend doesn't care. He's a Niners fan. He wasn't rooting against the Jets, but as soon as Doug Bryan lined up, he goes, "Oh, this is good. This is it." Pessimistic Jets fans, you jinx the whole thing, you son of a bitch. So we'll never forgive him. It'll haunt us to the day both of us die. I guarantee. There's a lot of people here who commented. If anyone called me Shane McMahon in the comments, they win, but I don't see that.
I see in the live chat someone just said Robby is Vince McMahon with wild hair.
Vince, I look 70.
Well, Vince looks pretty good for 70. That's the whole thing. Like he actually last time I looked, I haven't looked him up probably since the last time I had you on.
He's got the doctors to look good, I suppose.
That's just it. He's got all the money in the world. Mike Lee, thank you for the super chat. Says 2 of my favorite Jets talking heads together. Mike Lee, thank you so much. I'm sure you are entered to win a shirt at the end of the stream. Mike Lee's subscribed over at Jets X Factor. Guys, leave a comment down below in Jets X Factor's most recent video saying Jets Talk sent you there. We're going to pick a shirt in the next few minutes or so. And if you are hanging out with us in the live stream right now, we got over 320 people right now. We only have 130 likes. So drop a like on this video if you guys like the content, if you like Jets X Factor, if you like Robby, if you like me, you're excited for the draft, you're happy Adam Gase isn't here, drop a like on the video. It helps the YouTube algorithm out a lot. I see a lot of people saying Jets, 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 shirt. So I think some guys are pretty excited. So chat, here's what I'm going to ask you. Give us a number 12 through 23. That's what we'll say. 12 through 23. And then
Do you want me to pick somebody?
You're going to pick someone based on the number they give us. You could start from the bottom to the top. You could start from the top to the bottom. You could skip people. The world's your oyster. We could do whatever we want. Let's see. We got a bunch of comments in here. Rec just every time someone's got the 69. Someone's got to drop 69 in the chat every time. Angels drops a 7. Mudfiles has 16. Liam's got 21. We got multiple people with 21. So let's go 21, Robbie. 21 is going to be the comment you're looking for. You can go from the bottom. You can go from the top. You can skip left and right. Doesn't matter to me. You're picking the winner tonight.
Let's go with so just say the name out loud.
Oh, yeah. Just say it.
Let's go with Rockaway Archie.
Ooh, Rockaway Archie. You have won our shirt giveaway for tonight. All you have to do is reach out to me. Reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, any one of those. Send me a private message. I want to get your shipping information so that way I can send you out a shirt. And congratulations. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Thank you guys for hanging out. Robbie, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Any last words for our chat? Let them know where they could find you and plug yourself a little bit.
Yeah, Jets X Factor. Go right to the site. We got a bunch of guys, 2 former quarterbacks who could break down film as well. Blew it, as you'll see on the YouTube page, just did a Zach Wilson breakdown. I think he did Justin Fields a few days ago too. So got a lot of things happening. We're also on Android and iPhone, App Store and Google Play. So just check it out. A lot of good stuff.
I love it. Robbie, thank you so much for coming in with us tonight. Truman Dummel, thank you so much for the super chat right at the end. He says that you are amazing. A little super sticker. Let me see if I can throw it up on the page. Bam! Thank you so much, Truman. You're the man. Robbie, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I can't wait to talk to you after the draft so we can talk a little bit about our draft picks. But guys, my name's Ryan. I've been your pilot. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.